Going live now on YouTube.
Vibhaji, I need to share the screen from my side.
Okay, I'll make you the co-host, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So namaste and good evening, dear brothers and sisters. On behalf of the Indian section of the Theosophical Society, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you today. It is a privilege to have Dr. BHAGAVADPADA with us again today. And he will be speaking on the topic, the divine architecture of H.P. Blavatsky. So let us begin our session with the universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. So we have with us Dr. BHAGAVADPADA. He holds a doctorate in theoretical nuclear physics. He's an accomplished teacher of Gyan Yoga and an ardent exponent of the lifetime works of Sri J. Krishnamurti. He's also a consultant for Vedic astrology for the past 23 years, and he was conferred the honorary title of Jyotish Ratna in 2007. I welcome you, Dr. Shankar, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Namaste, ma'am. Thank you. So I need to, I need to share the thing. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, I've got the first slide and I'm in a position to start. Do you want me to start? Okay. So namaste to all the office bearers of the Indian section of the Theosophical Society in Varanasi. And namaste to my host, Vibhaji. And namaste to all the listeners gathered here. So today we have an assignment to decipher the divine architecture of Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, 1831 to 1891, a tenure of 60 years. And she is known as the mother and the founder of the Theosophical Society, which came into existence in 1875 in New York. Now, I started with this title slide, positioning Madame Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott, whom she met in 1873 in New York. And they worked very closely till Madame Blavatsky passed away in 1891, which is a partnership for about 19 years. And they came to India some 10 years, roughly 10 years after founding of the Theosophical Society in New York. They first came to Bombay, then they came to Calcutta, then they came to Madras, and then they saw the Huddlestone Gardens, and Madame Blavatsky made a very important statement. She said, the masters want this. And amazingly, that property of the Theosophical Society on the southern bank of the Adyar River has got extraordinary vastu. And it is in the likeness of the vastu of Mahatma Gandhi's ashram on the south bank of the Sabarmati River. And vastu people will know that when an institution has taken its place on the southern bank of a river, then great things are going to happen there. So that's just incidentally. So because it's there in the title slide, and you see the headquarters building. Last time when I did the divine architecture of the world teacher Sri J. Krishnamurti, I probably went too deep into the astrological details, thereby making it difficult for people who are not conversant with astrology. But I wanted to give a different darshana, a different perception of the world teacher. That was my attempt. And this time I changed my approach. I said, I will deal more with the life and the biographical details of Madame Blavatsky, and I will reduce the astrological information which I'm placing in front of you. Now, her seminal works, the first seminal work is Isis Unveiled. Isis and Osiris are the renowned goddess and god of Egypt, of the ancient religion of Egypt, going back 2,500 years before the birth of Christ. So there was the Egyptian civilization. And so Isis, the goddess Isis, was worshipped in the Greco-Roman Empire, even as far back as the first millennium BC, when Greece captured Egypt and extended the Western influence in that part of the globe. Now, these 2 volumes of Isis Unveiled was obviously a very revolutionary work, because Madame Blavatsky's whole work was very revolutionary. And in volume 1, she made a critique of the scope of science, modern sciences in the age in which she lived, because science was claiming too much to be the be-all and end-all of life. And she challenged that. And she said science cannot account for the elementals and for the spirit world and for all the phenomena connected to consciousness and 100 other things. And therefore, she wanted to put science in its place, because she was convinced from her point of view that science did not have the answers to the great and impossible questions of life, like what is man? So science has no answers to these questions. And science was just a study of nature, completely ignoring the involvement of the subject in that objective study. And it's very remarkable that in the wake of Madame Blavatsky's work, we see in the work of Albert Einstein in the theory of relativity, and the whole revolution, the quantum revolution starting with 1920, that the observer entered very crucially into the phenomenon which he observes. So Paul Dirac, one of the grandmasters of theoretical physics, he says that the observer is himself responsible for the regularity which he observes. But this was not the idea of the sciences in the age and time in which Madame Blavatsky lived. And in that age and time, science was claiming too much, and they pretended to have all the answers. And in fact, ever since the age of Reformation happened, where the church lost its power and authority over the people, historians said that we are witnessing the apotheosis of science and technology. That is, science and technology have been established on the throne of authority instead of religion, which occupied that preeminent position, namely the Roman Catholic Church. And so science was given a very high honorable place, and Madame Blavatsky is shooting at all the claims of science, and she wants to pull down the glory of science very legitimately, as all critical philosophers of science will easily pick up that science does not have answers to 100 questions. And therefore, that's what she's saying in volume 1, where she questions the claimed infallibility of the sciences. And then in volume 2, she makes a critique of the Christian religion, and she's not very happy with the Christian religion, because as a small schoolgirl, as a 5-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, she was exposed to a lot of occult literature, which was there in the family library, belonging to the grandfather, a maternal grandfather, and there was a huge number of books about the Rosicrucian movement and the Freemason movement. So Madame Blavatsky had that very massive exposure, and being intellectually very precocious and very advanced in her thinking, she understood that there are many claims out there on the stage of the world, and those claims must be contested, and they cannot be taken for granted, and we cannot subscribe to those claims. So she's making a double attack, one on the claims of science, another on the claims of the Christian religion, because it was her perception that the Christian religion, now remember that in the 16th century and 15th century, during the age of Renaissance, in Italy and in the whole of Europe, the authority of the church was questioned, and Christianity's moral bankruptcy and intellectual bankruptcy was exposed. And therefore, Christianity was very vulnerable, and people began to research. The collective consciousness of mankind in Europe began to research, and they wanted to find out, how did this fall of Christianity happen? What are really the deficiencies of Christianity? And can we pick that up, and can we do a restorative work of Christianity so that Christianity appears in its proper light? And so that's the work of Madame Blavatsky, and that's the work of the Rosicrucians, and that's also the work of the Kabbalah, and that's the work of the Freemason movement. And so they're trying to give the roots to Christianity, and Christianity, in becoming populist and in getting a mass following, has somehow forgotten the roots, or consciously parted company with the roots, because probably the organizers of the religion thought that if the roots were emphasized, then they would not have a mass following. It will become too difficult a religion with strong esoteric dimension. Therefore, they made the religion very populist, and Madame Blavatsky, being an original, brilliant thinker, was not happy with that. And therefore, in volume 2, she is addressing her disenchantment with the Christian religion. And then in The Secret Doctrine, which appeared 12 years after ISIS Unveiled was published, it was also in 2 volumes. And in the first volume, Madame Blavatsky talks about impossible questions which only the Upanishads and the Vedas, they deal with, these kind of questions. Cosmogenesis. How did this physical manifest universe, which is appearing to the senses, whence did it arise? How did it arise? So that is a concern. Cosmogenesis. And anthropogenesis. How did man come into existence? What evolutionary milestones did he cross in order to come up to this point where he seems so tremendously powerful? So those are the questions she is exploring in The Secret Doctrine. And these 2 works, ISIS Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine, seems to be some kind of a bedrock foundation for the Theosophical Society, which is an intellectual religious society, obviously. So now I go to the next thing. And because Madame Blavatsky left home when she was 18 or something, and she moved to London from Ukraine, and then from there, on her 20th birthday, her master, whom she held to be having an abode in Tibet, appeared physically to her. And then on the occasion of her 20th birthday, he made a pronouncement that she has a mission in life, and that her whole purpose in life in this incarnation is to execute that mission. So that became given to her, that was given to her. And that happened on her 20th birthday. And that was significant because throughout her childhood, she kept seeing the face of a certain figure. And only when that master, he was Master Moria, when he manifested, did she know that, oh, this is the figure who has been coming time and again in my dreams throughout my childhood years. Now he has physically manifested. And so then the master told that now you have to go and meet me in Constantinople, in the region of Turkey. And then we will travel together and we will go to Tibet, and where I will reveal to you certain secrets of Tibetan Buddhism. And then you will be trained in all of that, those esoteric disciplines of the religions. And then you will begin your mission work. So that was the whole idea of Master Moria. So seen from that point of view, you can see, because she has traveled the world for 25 years. So starting with the age of 18, for 25 years, she went from Ukraine, she went to London. From there, she went to Constantinople. From there, she went to India. From India, she went to Afghanistan. From Afghanistan, she went to Kashmir. From Kashmir, she went to Tibet. Then she went to Greece. And then she went to Paris. And then she went to so many countries. And in America, Canada, and the United States and Mexico. And so she's traveled the world so often and so far that it is not surprising that she developed a tremendous sensitivity to human suffering. And so she says, hast thou attuned thyself to the suffering of humanity, O candidate for the light? So that means if you say that you want to go back home, you want to be one with the light, then there's a prerequisite for that. And the prerequisite is that you must be sensitive to the suffering of humanity. That must become a palpable reality for you. And then your candidacy is on a stronger foundation. So because of the tremendous sensitivity to worldwide suffering in all the civilizations where she visited, she could make this absolutely astounding visionary statement, which is available in theosophical literature and also in the Krishnamurti literature. And I pulled this out from Krishnamurti, The Years of Awakening, on page 12 by Mary Lutens. And I'll read that. As early as 1889, Madame Blavatsky had told a group of theosophical students that the real purpose of establishing the society was to prepare humanity for the reception of the world teacher when he appeared again on earth. And this was repeated more publicly by Mrs. Besant in 1896, 5 years after Madame Blavatsky's death in 1891. So the fact that she was so sensitive to human suffering and just traveled around the world. In fact, this picture of hers, which is widely circulated, you can see here as a contemplative. The mood is one of contemplative. The mood is tremendously pensive. The mood is concern for man. You can see that written all over her face. And so the concern was there. And God knows whether Madame Blavatsky, seeing the worldwide suffering and being a very deep contemplative and being an extraordinarily gifted and brilliant original thinker, whether it occurred to her as an insight that this worldwide malady can only be transformed with the coming of a world teacher. Because the last time the world teacher came, it was in the person, Master Jesus, and that was nearly 2,000 years ago, 1,800, 1,900 years ago. And it occurred to her that a new world teacher has to come in order to reform the world and in order to tame the madness in the world so that the world will be chastised and the world will be purified. That seems to be her mission. And she says the mission was given to her. She's stressing time and again that the mission is not the mission of her ridiculous self. It is the mission given to her by the masters, and we got to take her seriously. So these are contents which I'm not going to show you because they're details. So I talk about the divine architecture. And the divine architecture is, I put a figure that the architect actually designs a house, he makes a blueprint, and then erects that structure. Likewise, all human beings are working with thought and feeling. Thought and feeling are the steel rods with which the civil engineers are working, and it is with that you construct reality. Thought and feeling are the concrete blocks and the steel rods, and with that you create reality. And all of that is so abundantly available in theosophical literature, in the works of Charles W. Leadbeater. He says the power of thought, and Annie Besant and Leadbeater, innumerable works on what to do with thought and the power of thought and all of that. And so knowingly and unknowingly, we are architecturing our life, we are architecturing our children, we are architecturing our work even, we are architecturing our destiny. That's the whole idea in the use of that expression, divine architecture. But today, I want to slightly change my orientation, and I want to, I don't want to stress too much on divine architecture. I would rather like to place the emphasis on understanding Madame Blavatsky. I think that is much more pertinent. What was it like to get into the consciousness of Madame Blavatsky? What was her vision of life? What was her assignment given by the masters? I'm attempting to understand that because I felt that that will be much more useful for us in our lives. So here you see in the early beginnings of the Theosophical Society in Adyar, you can see Henry Steele Olcott, the founder, and Madame Blavatsky, the founder. She's taking a back seat, note that. And there's a very conservative Hindu society, which is male-dominated. So you see a whole lot of very powerful Hindus in positions of power, and small-time rajas and officials. And here you see to the left of the founder, Henry Steele Olcott, you see a very important person, a person who played a significant role in the building of the Theosophical Society in the early years, and he is Damodar K. Mavalankar. And he was a gifted mystic, and the Damodar Gardens, just on the other side of the road in Adyar, is named after him. And he made signal contributions to the Theosophical Society in its early embryonic years. So that is just a reminiscence. And now I go to the chart. Now this is the Vedic chart of Madame Blavatsky. I'm not going to go too much into detail. This is Gemini ascendant, which is known for profound interest and profound curiosity. Why? Because it's the third sign in the zodiac, in the natural zodiac. There's the first sign, second sign, third sign. So all people with Gemini ascendant have that God-given, or rather, that divine architecture, thing which is already given at birth. What is it? It is profound interest and profound curiosity. So Albert Einstein and Srinivasa Ramanujan, who were two geniuses, both had Gemini ascendant. And you see profound interest and profound curiosity elucidated and coming to fruition in the life of Albert Einstein, and likewise in the life of the mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan. And Madame Blavatsky, so anybody with the Gemini ascendant has to be either a communicator or a media person, or has to be an intellectual. And it is not accidental that the Theosophical Society itself has a Gemini ascendant birth chart, and it is not accidental that the 14th Dalai Lama also has a Gemini ascendant Rasi chart. Those are very remarkable coincidences, but we don't have time to go into them. And what is significant in the divine architecture of the Gemini ascendant Rasi chart of Madame Blavatsky is that not only is it a Gemini ascendant, But the third house, which again signifies profound interest and profound curiosity, that is a repetition or a second layering of profound interest and profound curiosity, which already the ascendant sign carries, that's now coming as a top layer over and above the property of the ascendant itself. So which means, so Madame Blavatsky has got double the intensity of profound interest and profound curiosity. And we have got to find out profound interest and profound curiosity in what? What is the area? Because you have Ravi Shankar, the sitar maestro, and Hariprasad Chaurasia, the flutist. All of them also have Gemini ascendants, and both of them are musicians. But here we have an intellectual lady who is a brilliant original thinker operating in the realm of philosophy, religion, and science simultaneously. So simultaneously, she has got 2 hands in science. She has got 1 foot in philosophy. She has got 1 foot in religion. And we've got to see what are those astrological variables. Now, the sun is the lord of the third house of profound interest and profound curiosity. And it is yoked on exact alignment to Jupiter, which is called the Guru. And Jupiter signifies the masters. And there are 2 peculiar things about this Jupiter. One is that Jupiter is in its debilitation sign in Capricorn. This is the zodiacal sign Capricorn. And it is also retrograde. Retrograde means you see the underlying thing there. That means the Jupiterian energy is completely curled in. Now, it is in the debilitation sign in the 8th house. This is the first house, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Now, the 8th house is the occult house. It is the house of paranormal psychology. It is the house of all occult disciplines like psychotherapy, like deep psychology, like theoretical physics, like Vedic astrology. All of them belong to the 8th house. And the 8th house is mysterious and deep. That is its hallmark. And anybody who's got planets in the 8th house will have strange experiences in body and mind. Strange experiences, astral experiences, out-of-the-body experiences, experiences pertaining to flights in consciousness, to other lokas, tapoloka, jnana loka, and all of that. All that is 8th house. So here, Jupiter being the Guru, Jupiter represents the theosophical masters who are connecting to her profound interest and profound curiosity from the 8th house of mysticism and occult experiences. And the strange thing is, notwithstanding the fact that the Jupiter is debilitated in Capricorn, and it is also retrograde, the connection with the masters was really there. It is true. And how do we know this? We can only know this if we talk to astrologers who are working in the spiritual spheres of dharma and moksha. And there are not many astrologers who are familiar with the spiritual spheres of dharma and moksha. Most of the astrologers are working in the material spheres of artha and kama. And then you will find that if you look at the charts of some spiritual masters like Satya Sai Baba and even some devotees who have got a debilitated Jupiter in Capricorn, all of them perform miracles. Now take note of that. And Madame Blavatsky was known to perform these miracles, and an eye of suspicion was thrown on her as though she's a magician or as though she's a fraud. Nothing of that kind. And anybody with this Jupiter, and that too connected to the sun, will not only be able to perform miracles, because Jupiter has got an Ashtakavarga count of 6, which is quite strong. And Jupiter is also retrograde. That's why the masters are ethereal masters. Sometimes they may manifest in flesh and blood. You can go and touch them. But otherwise, by and large, they are ethereal masters. And Satya Sai Baba's miracles of kumkumam and turmeric and everything flowing out from his picture, or many other masters, such miracles happening, is all sourced in the positioning of Jupiter, the Guru planet, in earth signs. Now, this is an earth sign, Capricorn. This is an earth sign. This is an earth sign. So when Jupiter is placed, especially in Capricorn, astrologers know that these miracles do happen. They are not some fabricated story. Now, look at another very significant conjunction between Mars, the planet of excessive ambition, the planet of aspiration, the planet of passion, and Saturn, which rules two religions, which rules two houses, the ninth house of religion and the eighth house of philosophy, occultism, and mysticism. So Saturn is simultaneously in charge of three departments: religion and occultism and mysticism, which is the eighth house. And Mars is the ambition, is the passion, is the aspiration of Madame Blavatsky for all these three domains. And also, astrologers know that whenever Mars and Saturn come together, these are the celebrated cosmic life energies which are very strong in the charts of scientists. So because Mars is technology and science is very deep thinking, which is not thinking in the marketplace, but thinking of abstract subjects. Saturn is in charge of all of that. And so simultaneously, because of this yoga between Mars and Saturn, which astrologers consider a malefic yoga, because both are two malefics, and the yoga between Jupiter and the Sun, Madame Blavatsky had the calling of the profound interest and the profound curiosity, and that's how she got connected to the masters. And astrologers also know that when Jupiter and Sun are in alignment like this, usually the individuals in question, they are institution builders. They will either establish an ashram, or they will either establish an institution of academic learning, or they will establish some magnificent society, which is what Madame Blavatsky did. So now, the Master Moria said, I will meet you in, now this is an imaginative picture, because Madame Blavatsky asked this German painter, Hermann Schmidtchen, 1855 to 1925 in London, under her supervision and direction. He made this picture because she described, he will be like this, he will be like that. Now, Master Moria is her guru, her master. And Master Kuthumi was also entering into her life when she went to Tibet. And Master Kuthumi was directly in charge of Charles W. Leadbeater, and he was guiding Charles W. Leadbeater. And Leadbeater thought that Master Kuthumi was actually a very evolved soul who was once, in one of his earthly lives, he was Pythagoras, the philosopher. So like that, there is a deepening layers of history. And this is Shigatse, a province of Tibet, where again, Master Moria and Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and Master Kuthumi, they all meet here, and they spend some time in a monastery there, and learning about all the occult things and training Madame Blavatsky for the Himalayan assignment, which was now ahead of her. Now, you must also note that though Jupiter has a beautiful yoga with the Sun, very beautiful yoga, exact alignment, almost 1 degree, the Sun has also got an alignment with Rahu and Ketu. And the Atmakaraka for Madame Blavatsky is not the Sun, because the Sun has the largest longitude. Atmakaraka means the cosmic life energy must have the largest longitude, but it is Ketu. Why? Because Ketu and Rahu, their longitudes have to be always subtracted from 30 degrees. So Ketu becomes 29 degrees 44 minutes, and Rahu similarly 29 degrees 44 minutes. So Ketu becomes the Atmakaraka. And I might mention in passing that Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had also Ketu as Atmakaraka. Now, some of these people who are very great history changers and game changers and great masters of all time, they do have Ketu as Atmakaraka. And that means what? That means Madame Blavatsky is bringing into this incarnation some bags of spiritual accomplishments, spiritual and psychic accomplishments brought forward from the last life. That's what Ketu signifies. Ketu is carry forward or brought forward psychic and spiritual assignments from past life into the present life. And what does Rahu do, the companion of Ketu? Rahu is there to execute the accomplishments which you brought forward from the past life. Rahu will help you to bring that into manifestation. And so that's the assignment for Madame Blavatsky, that she comes and arrives on planet Earth with a huge past life legacy, with a past life accomplishment, and she's here to do. And in that, Jupiter plays a very important role, because Jupiter is all the masters, the Himalayan masters, the ascended masters, the theosophical masters, and because her soul, the sun, is connected to those masters. And so the masters, can you and I see the masters? We posted a very mischievous question. Now the answer is, we are talking here of subjective reality. We are not talking of an objectified reality with which physics was very comfortable, the sciences were very comfortable, because they thought that the universe existed independently by itself, until quantum mechanics and the theory of relativity came and completely demolished that conception that the universe exists independently by itself. And after the quantum revolution, they learned that the observer is himself responsible for the regularity which he observes. And therefore, the reality of the masters is a subjective reality. And not all people can actually have darshan of that reality. But those people with adequate past life samskara and who got the divine architecture pattern similar to Madame Blavatsky, they certainly will be able to have darshan of the masters, exactly like Henry Steele Olcott had darshan in New York, and Damodar Mavalankar had darshan with the masters. So many theosophists like that. So I'm mentioning all of that in passing. And this is a Hindu understanding of Madame Blavatsky. Now, the Divine Father and the Divine Mother, they have two children who are called the Lord of Being and the Lord of Becoming. So Subramanya Swami, Muruga, is the Lord of Becoming, and Ganesha is the Lord of Being. Now, the Lord of Being always has two empowerments. One is Siddhi and Buddhi. Siddhi means success will come to him. Buddhi means intelligence, divine intelligence, not earthly intelligence, divine intelligence, and what they call prajna, really. And so there was a competition between these two children in the Purana, which is all a metaphor, and said, let's see who will go around the world and who will come first. So that was the competition. And Mars, being Subramanya, being the Lord of Becoming, he immediately got on to his rocket, the Peacock, and he began to start going around the world. But Ganesha, being an embodiment of intelligence, he said, why should I go around the world? It is so silly. I know that my father and mother are the very center of the universe, and that the whole world is in them, and that they are in the whole world. So it must be enough if I just circumambulate, go around them and salute them, then that should be as good as accomplishing the journey. Now, that's known to astrologers, and they know that Jupiter takes intelligent shortcuts, whereas Mars cannot take that intelligent shortcut. And Madame Blavatsky was Mars, and it is in her Mars, and that Mars is notorious among astrologers for being extremely aggressive and for having the taint which astrologers call impulsive egoism, which is too pushy and too aggressive and all of that. So this is just a Hindu illustration of what kind of cosmic energy is driving Madame Blavatsky. And now I put myself a puzzle, and I wanted to know what is the philosophical basis for the fundamental mantra of the Theosophical Society, Satyan Nasti Parodharmaha. That is, there is no religion higher than truth. So how did they get at this? So obviously, because Madame Blavatsky was a seer, she was a philosopher, and she was a mystic, and she was original and brilliant. So she could pick up all the deficiencies not only in Christianity, but in many other religions, because she was traveling around the world and everywhere she found a rot, a decadence in the religions. And you see that reflected beautifully in the Mahatma letters. And therefore, she took away truth from which was in the custody of the religion and enshrined truth on a pedestal higher than that of religion. So she said, there is no religion higher than truth. So gave truth a very lofty pedestal, loftier than the religion. But this is will not be accepted by Hindus and by Buddhists, for whom the dharma, Sanatana dharma, and the Buddhist teaching, that is itself the truth. That is itself the truth. For example, if you look at the Upanishadic Mahavakya, they say Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So Satyam, the truth. The truth means it's truth of this world and truth of that world. Both. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Jnanam means that understanding, not just knowledge, that understanding. Anantam means it is impossible to bring into a water bottle. It's infinite in reach. And so in the Mahatma letters I found, ignorance creates God, and cunning took advantage of the opportunity. It is priestly imposture that rendered these gods so terrible to man. It is religion that makes him the selfish bigot, the fanatic that hates all mankind out of his own sect without rendering him any better or more moral for it. It is belief in God and gods that makes 2/3 of humanity the slaves of a handful of those who deceive them under the false promise of saving them. So the theosophical perception and the teachings given by the masters was that there was a rot inherent in the religions. Therefore, one has to either do mining in the religions and discover the truth and bring it out and enshrine it on a pedestal loftier than the religions. And that, I believe, is the assignment for the two founders, Madame Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott. And I think they obviously did a magnificent job of the assignment. And Madame Blavatsky held one thing, which I should have told in the beginning, but I want to say it at least now, that the source of the cosmic manifestation and the source of man is the unknowable divine. You can't ever know it. You can know it only indirectly. And from that, from time to time, an emanation, a cosmic emanation goes forth, creation happens. And man, by delving deep within himself, but not relying on outer religion, can access that primal source, which is the Divine Father and the Divine Mother. And then he will redefine himself as to what it means to be a man. It's not just a physical body and being born and living for 80 years, 90 years, and then dying. No, man is an infinite being made in the image of the divine. And so that redefinition happens the moment you touch the root base. And that was Blavatsky's intention, that man should go as far as that and rediscover his unbreakable unity with the source, and then know that he is much more than the physical body, etc. So whole of that. So there is a strong connection between the Theosophical Society and Tibetan Buddhism. And Tibetan Buddhism, I want to say in passing, is a marriage between an aspect of Hindu Sanatana Dharma called Tantra Shastra, and the Buddhist teaching. And because Tibet is a very secluded country where there's no disturbance, in Tibet, the marriage happened between Tantra Shastra and Buddhism. So Tibetan Buddhism has something to offer, which the Dalai Lama is even today offering, both in America and in Dharmashala and in some other parts of the world, a teaching which is a confluence of the Buddhist teachings and Tantra Shastra from the Hindu world. And Madame Blavatsky told very significantly that actually theosophy is not necessary for Hindus, for Buddhists, and for Muslims, and it is for Christians, because they don't know what are the roots of the religion. There are roots, but the organized Christianity has put a black veil on those roots, because the roots, when unveiled, ISIS unveiled, will give far lesser importance to the organizational structure of the religion. And therefore, they are preventing that from happening. So Madame Blavatsky decided to bell the cat. And she was the daring pioneer who wanted to upset the apple cart and who wanted to bring in a revolution. And I think she eminently succeeded. And she discovered that Senzar, the language, was kindred to Sanskrit, an ancient version of Sanskrit. She went and learned that, and she translated some works by living in this monastery in Shigatse region. And so Theosophy is a magnificent, genuine moment. We should not take the scandals of the Coulomb couple seriously at all, and even the scandal of the Mahatma letters. It's a genuine moment, and it's good that we have Theosophy on planet Earth. So with that, I want to thank you for your attentive listening. I'm sorry, I again committed the same thing, Rajdhani Express, very fast, but hopefully this time I made the material more interesting than what it was last time. And these are some, so my sources, David Frawley and Leadbeater, How Theosophy Came to Me, the Kutumi Letters, Blavatsky, Tibetan Tulku, The Divine Plan, Jeffrey Barborka, then Ramana Maharshi's Moksha, my work, then The Masters and the Path, Leadbeater, Krishnamurti, Years of Awakening. So thank you very much for all thank you, the office bearers and the host, Vibhaji, and all the listeners. Namaste. If there are any questions, then probably I can take one or two questions.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shankar, for this very enlightening lecture, which you have, in which you have brought out so many different facets of Madame Blavatsky's life and thrown a light from a very different angle, from the astrological perspective. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I will now request our participants, if they have any questions, then the forum is open for the same. You may raise your hand or write your question in the chat box, and we'll take up one by one.
Yeah, should I, Vibhaji, should I close the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. You may stop sharing the slides.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, good.
Any questions from our participants? This is a very good opportunity to clarify and have more clarity on even the theosophical concepts. Yes, do I hear a question? Okay, Dr. Shankar, if you don't mind, I would like to satisfy my curiosity. I have a question. You of course, you are a master in astrology, and you have given the perspective of her astrological chart, Madame Blavatsky's. Now, in Theosophy, we study that man fashions his own future through the law of karma. Law of karma is the highest, right? His future and his own, even his future personality, it is all fashioned through his karma. Of course, Madame Blavatsky has mentioned that astrology is a branch of occultism. So how will you relate the two? The influence of the planets, the 7 sacred planets, the kind of influence they have on man's septenary constitution, and man being the fashioner of his own future through his karma. One side we have the planets and one side we have his own karma. How do you relate the two? I would like your view on this.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. You see, people believe that we are ruled by the planets, but I don't agree with that, because Jyotish is out and out a divine-centric discipline. It's actually a darshana. I call it the 8th darshana from Sanatana Dharma. The 6 are the classical darshanas: Yoga, Sankhya, Yoga and Sankhya, and Vaiseshika and Nyaya, and Purva Mimamsha and Uttar Mimamsha are the classical darshanas. The 7th I want to give to Tantra Shastra, which gives a magnificent Shiva Shakti darshana of the cosmos. Then the 8th I want to give to Jyotirvidya, because it gives you a completely different way of understanding divine architecture, divine patronage, and divine conspiracy in human life. Now, the Navagraha Devatas, who are there in all the Hindu temples, wherever Hindu temples are, whether in India or in America, you see the Navagraha Devatas and the shrine allotted to them. They, who are Amshas of Adipara Shakti, the Divine Mother, they are ruling over our lives. And they also rule over the planets. And because the motion of the planets and their rhythms are very well studied, it's easier for us to represent the action of the Navagraha Devatas through the planets, because the planets' orbits are known, their velocities are known, their positions are known. Therefore, we can map the planetary orbits and positions onto human life, which is enigmatic, which is chaotic, which appears, there seems to be no order in it at all. So using that as a calibration model, we are able to bring order into human life and see the hand of the divine through the Navagraha Devatas. That's what we see. Now, in all this, there is divine bondage. There is bondage coming from past life karma, and then there is freedom. If provided, you are connected to the Atma and you begin to act from the Atma. Then you are beginning a new cycle of creation as an Atmic entity, not as a personality, not as a puny little human being. No, you must act from that Atmic center, and then you can start a new cycle of something. And so both are there. The bondage is there, the freedom is there. So depending on, for example, if somebody in India, they go on saying, oh my God, my fate is bad. They keep talking negatively. Now, such people have no hope because they completely close the door on freedom by going on repeating negative perceptions, which are incomplete and half-truths. So one should not dwell and repeat those words, because yad bhavam tad bhavati. So whatever you think will become reality. So you've got to be tremendously aware of what you're thinking.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shankar. So would you say that through his karma, man can overcome or at least change the effects of these planets which you showed in the birth chart?
You see, the karma pertains to the body, and karma pertains to the consciousness, the way it is working. Now, because we are completely embroiled into consciousness and think that we are present in every thought. Now, what happens if I distance myself from every thought and every feeling, and I'm an outsider to every thought, I'm an outsider to every feeling, I'm the Atmic center. And so I see all thoughts coming, I see all thoughts going, and then I become a witness. Then that I, the Atmic center, has no karma. The karma is to the body. The body may get cancer, the body may get a sore throat, and the body may be short-lived, it may be long-lived. Who the hell cares? Sorry to put it so bluntly.
No, that is true. That karma is of Prakriti, not of the Purush. There I agree with you. Yes. Okay. So good. Any other questions our participants would like to ask?
May I add something to this?
Yes,
sir.
please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you asked a question.
Yes, sir.
Basically, once we leave the body, we get into the higher bodies, and the entire thing is a calculation made for the total karmas and what is going to be the result. And the rebirth in the human body will take place exactly at the point where the planets are placed in such a way that all his karmas will be actually worked out. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So there, the birth timing is such which is matching or corresponding to the karma. That is what I gathered. Interesting. Any other perspectives or any other questions? Perhaps Shindeji would like to add something, sir?
No, I'm not adding, but I must appreciate Dr. Shankara. Very nicely he dealt. And you made us really go deeper and deeper in this aspect also, how they affect. And as you said, Gemini. I am also Gemini.
Oh.
So I heard very carefully. Anyway, we are not studying this astrology, but astrology, as Vibhaji told, it is said in the Theosophy, it is the part of the occultism, no doubt.
Yes.
But you have taken interest. What I want to suggest, of course, whether you take it lightly, have you read the Light on the Path and Voice of the Silence?
No, I have not read. See, my endeavor in this talk, because I'm not a theosophist.
No, I know.
I come from the Krishnamurti world. Huh?
Okay,
but
these
I don't
are
have.
also inspired by the masters.
I
These
have purchased
Voice of the
lot of.
Silence and Light on the Path. And
No,
if
I
you
purchased a lot
read,
of books, sir. I purchased a lot of theosophy books recently.
I know. What I am suggesting is, in theosophy, it is said, masters have said, get hold of intellectuals, and you are one of them. So I would like to suggest you to study these two very important books, Light on the Path and Voice of the Silence. And if you study in this aspect, various aspects, and your interest in going deeper and deeper, that will help for our Indian people to understand more about these books. That is what I want to appreciate, as well as just suggest you to study these two.
I will study, sir. Thank you very much. But actually, my perception was that Western intellectuals may have a sympathy and an understanding of the theosophical movement, but for Indians, the theosophical movement, they may not understand, because they are actually practitioners of their religions. And many Hindus have already gone very deep, and they are not doing a nominal thing. So that's why Madame Blavatsky said that I don't say that Hindus and Buddhists and Muslims must enter into theosophy, but this is mainly meant for Christians who are either broken ties with Christian religion, or even if they are retaining ties with the Christian religion, they are in shallow waters. So theosophy is for them. So she made that very important thing. But my thing is to make Hindus understand the theosophical movement, because it's a very, very deep movement. It's an extremely deep thing. And the masters are not objective reality. They're like subjective reality in the quantum mechanical world. And it will vary from person to person. If you have some past life samskara connection to the masters, you will see them. If I don't have, I won't be able to see them. But because I'm not able to see them, I can't do malicious propaganda against you saying that you are an illusion. That would be very wrong.
Okay, thank you, sir. Only thing, we want to know more about these two books. And people like you who have studied deeply, H.P. Blavatsky and J. Krishnamurti, if they study, their perspective is different. And we are happy to listen you from you rather. That inspires us. That's what I want to suggest.
Thank you, sir. But I
Thank
think
you.
theosophy has got a mountain, Himalayan wealth of understanding. And
Vibhaji and myself both are coming from the science faculty. So when we go deeper and deeper, and if we listen people like this speaking who are going deeper and deeper and explaining, we are very much interested in to listen all this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
we all are learners in this sense.
I am also a learner, sir.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shankar, for being with us here today, and
namaste.
for these two enlightening sessions which we have had with you previous Sunday and this Sunday. And we surely hope to make more sessions with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to all our participants who are with us here today. So if there are no more questions, then we would like to close this session with the universal prayer or with our regular prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you all and have a good evening. Namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
Thank you and